This is Amna from My English Matters, and welcome back to the My English Matters podcast. It's Wednesday, 3rd of December. It's 8:30 p.m. And last week, we announced to our email subscribers that we are going live every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. So if you are watching me live, let me know in the chat. I love seeing all your comments. And also last week, we asked our email subscribers to vote for their favorite topics. And the topic that was the most voted for was what to say when your mind goes blank. Practical phrases for smooth, confident speaking. So it seems like many of you have the problem of going blank when you have to speak English. And so today's topic, we're going to tackle that. We're going to share some tips and phrases to help you overcome this problem. Okay, so say hello in the chat. Aisha is backstage with me. She is going to answer any of your questions in the chat. And she will also show any questions that you may have that I can answer, which are related to the topic. Okay, let me show my slides. Okay, here you go. So the topic is what to say when your mind goes blank. Practical phrases for smooth, confident speaking. Okay. So what we're going to learn today, number one, we're going to go through why your mind goes blank when speaking English. Because first we have to know why this happens so that we can get to the root of the problem and do our best to overcome it. Number two, we're going to talk about tips for what you can do when your mind goes blank, phrases for when your mind goes blank, and then a little bit of do's and don'ts at the end. And we're going to go through any of your questions if you have any related to this topic. But before that, I want to let you know that we have this free guide. If you go to myenglishmatters.com/phrases, just key in your name and your email address, and then we will send you a PDF guide. It's called Phrases to Use When Your Mind Goes Blank. So after you put in your email and your name, we'll send you an email where you can download this PDF guide. It has more than 100 phrases to help you when your mind goes blank. And they are categorized by, I think there are five different situations where your mind can go blank at work. So I hope you find that helpful. You can go there now or you can go there after this session. So go to myenglishmatters.com/phrases to grab your free guide. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, let's go to the reasons why your mind may go blank. Okay, maybe you can share with me in the chat. Why do you think your mind goes blank when you have to speak English? So the first one is you're nervous. So your brain focuses on the fear instead of your words. Okay, so when we're nervous, we are thinking about, I'm very nervous. I don't know what to say. I feel anxious. All those nerves come and they overcome everything so that you're not able to think properly and you're not able to focus on what you want to say. Okay. Another reason why you may go blank is that you're thinking in two languages at the same time. So most likely English is not your first language. It could be your second language. It could be your third language. And so in your mind, you may be thinking in your first language, but you're also trying to translate in English. So there are two different languages that are playing in your mind. So your brain is kind of multitasking, and that will make you feel nervous and also make you go blank. Right. Another reason why your mind can go blank is that you feel pressure to sound perfect. And this problem can be among those who are beginners and also those who are intermediate and also even those who are advanced, because you have that pressure to sound perfect. And the truth is, nobody's perfect. So I want you to focus more on getting your message across instead of feeling that you have to be perfect, which can cause you to go blank. And the fourth reason is that you haven't fully prepared what you want to say, so your mind searches for words. That means that, one, you're not getting enough speaking practice, or if it's like in a presentation or in a meeting, you haven't prepared what your points are, and so your mind can go blank that way because you're searching for the words on the spot in that high pressure or high stress situation. Okay, so let me know in the chat, what do you think? What's the main reason why you go blank when you're speaking English? Okay, let's go through some of the tips on how to overcome the mind blank, right? So the first one was that I mentioned was that you are nervous. So the tip that you can apply whenever you feel nervous and you're afraid that your mind will go blank is to take a slow breath before you speak and start with a simple sentence. So I'm going to share with you some of the phrases that you can use to just start with a simple sentence, right? Because when you are nervous, you tend to forget to breathe, right? Maybe you're breathing too fast or you're not breathing enough. And so what you could do is just inhale a bit and then just exhale. You don't have to go over the top so that everybody can see that you're nervous. You can just remember to breathe, right? So remember to take a breath and then say something, the phrases that I'm going to share with you later today. And then once you begin calmly, your brain will just settle down and then your words will flow easily, right? Right now, the words are stuck in your head. You're going blank because you're so nervous, you're forgetting to breathe. Okay? So that is tip number one for if you're nervous. The other reason that you may go blank is you're thinking in two languages. Remember, I said that you may be thinking in Malay and then you're trying to translate to English. Okay. So the tip I have for you is to practice thinking in short English phrases every day. If you're not speaking in English every day, if you're not speaking in English every day, try thinking in English, especially before your big presentation or especially before, you have an important discussion or a conversation with someone. Try thinking in English so that you get into the habit of just thinking in English instead of having to translate from your first language to English. So this reduces the translation delay. The translation delay is that delay, that pause that makes you go blank when you're trying to translate in your head. And so it'll make you speak faster and easier. Okay? So this is something that you have to do behind the scenes, right? Not just thinking only when you're at work. Try your best to, set some time at home or in the car for you to think in English so that you are ready to go to work and to think and speak in English. Okay. The other reason that you may go blank is you feel pressure to sound perfect. So the tip here is, like I said, focus on being clear, not perfect. Your listeners care more about understanding you than whether every word is correct. Okay. The whole point of communication is to get your message across, not to sound perfect, not to have perfect grammar. It's not the time, when you're speaking, that is not the time for you to be worrying about your grammar. You can learn grammar, in a class, you can learn with My English Matters. But when it comes to speaking, focus on your message. Because if you are focusing on trying to be perfect, that is going to hinder you from speaking smoothly and fluently. Because you are telling yourself, okay, this is not right. This grammar is incorrect. Those things will make you feel less nervous, and it'll also make you feel, like you have nothing to say because all of those negative thoughts are coming in. All right. And like I said, most of your listeners, they want to understand you. They care more about understanding you rather than, having you speak perfect English. There are going to be a few people who are going to comment on your English or comment on your grammar, but that's not important. Focus your energy and your time on getting your message across in the best way possible. And then the last one is that you haven't fully prepared. So what you can do is, before an important conversation or before any big presentation, make sure you are prepared. You have your 2 or 3 key points. Okay. If you know that you're going to be in a meeting with somebody that's important, maybe it's your boss or something, have at least a few points that you are ready with. Okay. And then also, this is something that we teach our students, is to have a structure or a framework to help give your brain something to follow. So we teach the PREP framework. That's our simplest framework. We have a lot of frameworks in our programs, but the main one that we teach is PREP. So PREP is basically point, reason, explain or elaborate or example, and then go back to your point. So it's just PREP, point, reason, elaborate or explain or example, and then go back to your point. So whenever you feel like you're going blank, remember the framework, because the framework will help to push you. It will help to prompt you to just speak without, worrying about, about if you tend to overthink, right? That can make you go blank. So having that framework will push you to just speak based on that PREP, the framework. Okay. So based on this, if you are the type of person who goes blank because you don't prepare, remind yourself to have a few key points before those important conversations, and remind yourself to use the PrEP framework or another simple structure that you like to use that works for you. Okay. Now, before we go into the phrases that you can use when your mind goes blank, I want to share with you a few phrases that you should avoid when your mind goes blank. And these are the phrases that I've heard some of our students say, or some of our listeners tell us in the chat or in the comments. So every time, if your mind goes blank, try not to use these phrases. Number one, I'm speechless. Number two, I'm blur or I blur. My mind is empty. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm totally lost. I forgot everything. Or just too many sorries. You're saying sorry, sorry, sorry. Another one is, it's not a phrase, but maybe you have a nervous laughter and you tend to laugh when you're nervous. Now, I love people who don't take themselves seriously, who have a sense of humor, but a nervous laughter can make you sound less confident or less professional. So if you tend to laugh a lot when you get nervous or when your mind goes blank, train yourself to hold it back, right? Maybe you can exhale instead of laugh, because there are certain situations where it's not appropriate for you to laugh, right? Because people might think that you're not taking things seriously, when in fact you are taking things seriously. It's just that you tend to laugh when you're nervous. So these phrases, or just apologizing too much when your mind goes blank, they highlight the problem instead of helping you recover. So these phrases can have a negative effect on you, right? If you're saying to yourself, my mind is empty, then it's going to happen. Your mind is going to be empty because you're telling yourself it's empty. Okay. So try to avoid these sentences because they can make you sound nervous, unsure, or unprepared. Okay. And one thing I want to note is that it's okay to be honest, right? If you're nervous, you can say, I'm a bit nervous today. You can say things like that. You can say, I've done my best. I'm prepared for this, but I'm still feeling a little bit nervous. Things like that. It's okay. It's just that if you find that these kinds of phrases are not helpful, I would prefer that you use positive phrases instead. Okay, so I'm going to share with you some of the phrases for when your mind goes blank. So we are going to talk about 4 different types of situations where your mind can go blank. Number one, phrases to buy time. So buying time means to, for example, when somebody asks you a question and you need some time to think, or you need some time to gather your thoughts. So that's what we call buying time. So I'm going to share with you phrases to buy time. Number two, I'm going to share phrases to clarify the question. So if somebody asks you a question and maybe you didn't hear the question properly, or you didn't understand the question, right? I'm going to share with you some phrases for that. Number three, phrases to use when you don't know the exact word. So maybe you want to say something, or you want to express something, but you can't think of the correct word or the exact word that you are looking for. So I'm going to share some phrases for that. And then phrases to restart when you lose your train of thought. That means that when you're speaking and then suddenly you forget what you were saying, or you forget what your point was. So how can you restart what you were saying? Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to share these phrases based on the CEFR levels, which is the beginner, intermediate, and the advanced, based on the CEFR level. So the CEFR, if you're not familiar with how we do things here. If this is your first time with us, we use the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, which is an international standard, and it describes your English level from beginner A1 to proficient C2. So I'm just going to quickly do a breakdown of the CEFR levels so that as we go through the phrases, you'll know which phrases that you want to focus on. So if you are a beginner, you are at the A1 or A2 level. So you can use basic everyday phrases like, how are you? I like pizza. You can introduce yourself and ask or answer simple questions. You struggle to understand fast or complex speech. Your vocabulary is limited, right? You often repeat the same words. You feel nervous or stuck in conversations beyond familiar topics. At the intermediate level, so B1 and to B2, you can hold conversations on familiar work and social topics. You understand the main points of clear standard speech. You can write and speak with some structure in emails, small talk, short reports. You may make mistakes with grammar, vocabulary, or tone, but you are generally understood. And you want to sound more confident, fluent, and professional, especially at work. So at the advanced level, which is the C1, C2, just to let you know that for you to be functioning effectively at work, you should target for the B2, which is upper intermediate. So B1 is intermediate, B2 is upper intermediate. At the advanced level, this is more suitable for teachers, English teachers. Maybe if you teach English in secondary school or in universities, then you are expected to be at that C1 level or above. So you can express ideas fluently, spontaneously, and precisely. You can understand implied meanings, humor, and idioms. You can adapt language style for different situations. You can write and speak with clarity, nuance, and sophistication. And you can use English flexibly for professional, academic, or social purposes. So what we tell our students is go for B2. Target, if you are at the A1, push yourself to get to A2. If you're at the A2, do your best to get to B1 and then B1 to B2, at least a B2, right? But we do have students who are already at the B2, but they want to be even better. They want to get to that C1 level where they can feel confident and professional, especially at work. Okay, if you're not sure what your level is, you can go to myenglishmatters.com/CEFR. There's a free self-assessment tool that we created based on the CEFR levels. There are like 7 or 8 questions, and then you can see whether you're A1, A2, B1 or B2, C1 or C2. And then we also let you know, how many hours you need to learn to get to the next level and what you should be focusing on. Okay, now let's get into the phrases to buy time. Let me know in the chat. Do you think you're advanced, beginner, or intermediate? Okay. So for those of you who you think that you're a beginner, here are phrases to buy time. Again, phrases to buy time is when you need a little bit of time to think. So instead of just going blank and just doing your best to remember what you want to say or get your, thoughts together, say something like, give me a moment. Let me think. Just a second. I need a bit of time. Hold on, please. Right? Direct, short, simple, sound confident at that level, at the beginner level, right? At the intermediate level, of course, you can use the beginner phrases as well, but you may want to use a bit more conversational phrases that sound a bit more natural, less direct. The first one is, let me collect my thoughts for a moment. I'm thinking about the best way to explain this. Could you give me a minute to process that? Let me just check how to put this. That's a good question. Let me think. Okay. So at the advanced level, so if you are already at the intermediate level, you can use these phrases. But if you want to challenge yourself to sound more advanced, more professional, more confident, try using these phrases instead. Let me take a moment to gather my thoughts. Before I answer, I'd like to consider this carefully. Allow me a second to organize my ideas. Let me reflect on that for a moment. I need a moment to think through the details. Okay? Right, so what you can do is, I'm going to share more phrases, but what you can do is just jot down the phrases that you like, right? At the beginner level, I would suggest you just go for the beginner phrases here and practice saying them at home or in your free time so that it sounds natural to you. If you want to challenge yourself to use phrases that are at the next level of English, you do need to practice saying them so that you don't stutter when it comes to the time when you have to say it, or you're not struggling to, say the correct, use the correct grammar or use the correct intonation. That's why it's important for you to practice. Sounding natural is important. Okay, sounding natural makes you sound confident, and you'll also feel that you just sound smoother as you continue speaking. Okay, so phrases to buy time can help you get over the mind blank and prompt yourself to speak and to just share something. All right. The next phrases are to clarify the question. So, for example, somebody asks you a question and you didn't hear the question properly, or you just didn't understand the question, right? So you want to ask them to clarify. At the beginner level, you can say instead of going blank, right? Sometimes we have students who say that they work with international clients or international colleagues, and sometimes their accent is very thick, or maybe they speak too fast. So at the beginner level, you can say, "What do you mean?" You can ask them, "Can you say that again? Sorry, I didn't catch that. Do you mean, can you repeat the question?" Okay. You can also say something like, if it's somebody from a different country and they have a thick accent and you didn't get it because of the accent, then you can say, "Could you repeat the question slowly, please?" Okay. At the intermediate level, you can say, "Could you explain that a bit more?" Or you could say, "Just to be clear, are you asking about? I'm not sure I understand. Can you rephrase it? Do you mean this?" Right? So then explain something, or something else. "Can you give me an example so I understand better?" Okay. At the advanced level, you can use more complex sentences. So you can try this. If you're at the intermediate and you want to try using advanced phrases, you can. To make sure I understand correctly, are you asking about? Just to clarify, do you want me to focus on? Could you elaborate on what you mean by that? When you say something, are you referring to? I want to be accurate. Could you confirm what aspect you'd like me to address? Okay. So which phrases do you like? Which phrases are you going to try? Do you have that problem where you speak to someone or somebody asks you a question and you don't understand? So try using these phrases. Instead of just going blank and trying to understand them, ask them to clarify. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. Sorry. Right, here are some phrases to use when you don't know the exact word. So, what I mean by that is when you're speaking and you are trying to recall or you're trying to remember a word, but the word is not coming to you. Okay, what can you say when that happens? Because your mind is going blank, you can't remember the word or phrase. At the beginner level, you can say, "I don't know the word, but it's like," and then you can explain what it's like. You can explain what it looks like, or what the feeling is like, or what colors, right? It's like something. It's something you use for. Okay. For example, if you wanted to, you forgot the word scissors, you could say it's something you use to cut. Okay. And you can also use like hand gestures, right? If it's an object, you can like use your hands to show what it looks like, right? It's a kind of, it's similar to the thing that, and then you can explain the action. Okay. At the intermediate level, you can use these phrases. I'm not sure if the exact word, but it means. And just use another word that has the same meaning. Okay, if it's really a struggle for you to remember the word, just come up with another word that has the same meaning. It's the word for when you, it's the opposite of. Okay, that's something new, right? Instead of using the exact word, you say it's the opposite of something. It's another way of saying. Let me describe it. It's something that, okay, so you can describe the thing instead if you can't remember the word. At the advanced level, you can say the exact term escapes me, but it refers to. Okay, so remember, even those at the advanced level can go, their mind can go blank at times as well, right? Advanced learners also get nervous sometimes. And sometimes, they're not AI robots where they can remember every single word. Sometimes, things happen in their life and they can forget things as well. I'm looking for the word. It's the one used for. Let me describe the concept instead. I can't recall the precise word, but it's related to. I'll explain it in another way while I think of the word. Okay? All right. So remember, if you want to use a phrase that is a bit more advanced for your level, practice saying it at home so that every time you may find yourself in a situation where your mind goes blank, you can use these phrases to help you, to help guide you. Okay? Right. Phrases to restart when you lose your train of thought. So, losing your train of thought means when you are speaking, right? You're talking in a conversation or in a meeting or in a presentation, and you're talking, and then suddenly you forget your point. You forget what you were going to say, or maybe you forgot what the question was. Okay, so this is what you can say. Where was I? Let me start again. Sorry, I lost my point. Let me try that again. Okay, what I wanted to say is, okay, that's beginner. At the intermediate level, you can say, I lost my train of thought. Let me go back. Let's restart from the main point. Sorry, I got a bit mixed up. Here's what I mean. Let me rephrase that. Let me go over that again more clearly. At the advanced level, you can say, I've lost my line of thought. Let me return to my main idea. Let me reset and explain that more clearly. Allow me to start that point again for clarity. I went off track. Here's the key idea I wanted to highlight. Let me regroup and restate my point. So these phrases are helpful if you tend to ramble. So if you're the kind of person who tends to speak, you enjoy speaking, you like talking, or maybe you just talk too much. You have a point and then you say something else that's related to that point. And so you get lost, right? You don't know what your point was. We have people like that as well in our programs. Some of them tend to ramble. So what you can do is use some of these phrases to get back to your point. I tend to sometimes ramble as well. I'm not perfect either. So what I do is if I find myself rambling, I just use these kinds of phrases to remind people of what the point was. Okay, so use these phrases to help remind yourself as well as your listeners on what your points are. Okay. All right, so we've went through the 4 situations and 4 types of phrases that you can use when your mind goes blank. And let's wrap up. I just want to go through some do's and don'ts on what to say when your mind goes blank. Okay, so do take a deep breath before speaking if your mind goes blank. Use a simple phrase to buy time. So I shared some phrases there earlier. Clarify the question if needed. Restart calmly if you lose your train of thought. Okay, so just remember, don't panic if things don't go perfectly. And keep speaking, even if it's just a short sentence. So for the beginners, I shared with you very simple sentences that you can use, right, when your mind goes blank. Because if you go blank and you go silent for too long, that can be a problem. So just say something. So those phrases can help you to just start and speak. Some don'ts for you. Don't apologize repeatedly. Okay, don't say sorry, sorry, sorry. Okay, the situation might not be suitable for it, might not sound professional. Okay, some people are forgiving, right? I'm forgiving if our students say sorry, but when it comes to the real situation, when you're with important clients or important bosses and colleagues, apologizing too much may not be suitable for the situation. Don't stay silent for too long. Remember, it's okay to pause, but staying silent too long may make you lose your thoughts even more. It will not help. So just say something to fill in the time. Don't switch languages suddenly. So maybe your presentation or your conversation is in English, right? And everybody's expecting you to speak English. I would say that if you are within an environment where people are Malaysian, people can speak more than one language, then it's okay to sprinkle in some Malay here and there when you speak English. It's normal. We use Manglish all the time, right? But for you to switch completely to Malay, it might not be suitable for the situation. So be aware of it. Be aware of what is expected of you. If it's okay to switch languages, right? But maybe if it isn't, then don't switch languages suddenly. Don't panic. Like I said, pauses are okay, but if the silence is too long, it's not going to help. It's going to make you go even more nervous. And the last one is don't try to be perfect. Just focus on being clear. Focus on getting your message across in the best way possible. It might take longer for you to get a point across because you're going blank or, you're struggling to find the right words. But the point is for you to get it out there. Make sure your message is received by the person, even if it's not perfect. Okay, so what have we learned today? We've went through reasons why your mind goes blank when speaking English. We have gone through some tips for when your mind goes blank. I shared phrases to use when your mind goes blank and phrases to avoid using when your mind goes blank. So we went through phrases to buy time, phrases to clarify a question, phrases to use when you don't know the exact word, and phrases to restart when you lose your train of thought. And then we also went through some do's and don'ts. And then don't forget, go to myenglishmatters.com/phrases. We have about 100, more than 100 phrases actually, for phrases to use when your mind goes blank. So you can go to myenglishmatters.com/phrases, put in your name and your email address right here, click submit, and you will get an email from us with the link to download this PDF guide. And then what you can do is go through the phrases, practice saying them out loud. Choose the ones that feel natural to you. Okay, don't choose the ones that will make you feel even more nervous, right? Because you're using big words. So use the ones that are, within your level of English. So, do we have any questions? Aisha, do we have any questions? If not, then I think that's all for tonight. And then I hope to see you in our next session. Don't forget to go to myenglishmatters.com/phrases to download this free PDF guide. And I'll see you in our next session. Bye for now and Assalamu alaikum.